Hey friends, I'm Ash.
I'm Al,
We are Lovey Cosplay.
and this is Shit Cosplayers Say, and Happy Pride Month!
It only took us 3 seasons, but we're actually airing our Pride episode in the month of June. So go us.
Surprise! We're really bad at this. It comes from the fact that we record like 4 to 8 weeks in advance, and then we don't always pay attention to when things are going to air, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, June's over.
This might be the first time that we've actually made conversation about when an episode was airing that it actually aired appropriately.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
I remember I tried to do it on one of our anniversaries once, and then we had to delay the episode.
Yep.
Because
if it can go wrong, it will go wrong.
It's fine.
So, of course, for Pride Month, we had to bring out the absolute classic Sailor Moon and all the chaos that has occurred in the various iterations of Sailor Moon. And to help us with that, we have our Sailor Moon expert today. We have Michi, also known as Mew21 Cosplay, and the host of the Eternal Mooncast. Welcome to our chaos.
Hey, happy to be here. Always a fan of Sailor Moon chaos.
Yes.
One of us.
One of us. So we do have some updates, besides the fact that we actually released something when we were supposed to. What?
Hooray!
Hooray! We also wanted to, as it kind of goes with the crossplay episodes that I've done, Target's Pride line has Tomboy X in store. For those of you that have listened to my crossplay episodes, the Tomboy X sports bras are what I use a lot for like light compression binders. But newsflash, they have a binder in store, which I did buy, and it is surprisingly comfortable and reasonably priced. So go check it out. The other stuff's pretty cute, too. I know a lot of people are like, Target pandering, blah, Pride line. But, you know, for being someone who's relatively new to the community, if I had seen that like 10 to 20 years ago, my life would be a lot different right now because it would have been so normalized. So, like, the babies are very excited about it.
Well, I think anytime we can get something in a store where we can physically go and try it on and, you know, touch it and everybody sees it, I think that's making a lot of strides, as opposed to, yeah, you can be mad at Target for pandering, but at the same time, they're bringing you this product, which is amazing. Like, all stores want to make money. Of course, they're going to do what they can do to make money as far as marketing goes, but they're not just changing their logo to rainbow colors. They're actually bringing real products that have a real impact on real people.
And they also have the humankind swimsuits at Target, which are like unisex swimsuits, and they're super cute.
Yes.
They look really comfy.
I want some board shorts. I'm just
right.
saying.
I want board shorts and like a comfortable top that I can actually swim in. Like, what's that? A swimsuit for a, you know, female body that like I can actually move in and not worry about something like popping out. That would be awesome. Like,
I've already bought so much from their Pride line. Like,
I know you really like their Pride line too. You got all the cat stuff, right?
Excellent.
I did. I gotta have. You know what? My boys haven't told me what they identify as. Just kidding, but you know, I'm like, I wanted all of the fun like Pride toys around the house.
Okay, but the flag mice are super cute.
They're so cute. I love them, and the little equality bags.
Yes. Those are, I just want to hang that up because it's just really adorable. I'm like, could this just be like, could they have done just like a wall hanging of this instead? Because I would put that in my office at work. Like, it's super cute.
The rainbow hedgehog has been Comet's favorite, though.
Oh, yeah.
He carries it everywhere with him right now.
One of my coworkers collects all the socks.
Oh, the socks?
Yes.
I did get the bisexual finger guns shirt because
I mean, was just good marketing.
Yeah, it was just, I had to get, that's the best marketing I've seen in a long time. I'm like, yes, that finger guns. I need this shirt in my life.
I was like, clearly somebody spilled the beans to Target.
Apparently, whoever they hired this year, they hired an inside person because they did so much better with like some of the shirts. Instead of them being like really like stereotypical. And there are a couple that still are like I bought the pronoun shirt because I can wear it at work. Mm-hmm. But because that's all our work shirts look just like that. We're just random words. You know what I mean, right? Where it's just like equality, acceptance, courage. Like all our work shirts, that's what they look like. So like this pronoun shirt fits perfectly into like the fashion that my work expects from our shirts that we make ourselves. So I'm just gonna get this so I can wear it at work.
My favorite thing is that rainbow tote bag, though. It's funny because one of my favorite YouTubers, he goes by Mac. He has a famous series called Reacting to Anti-Gay Things, and highly recommend. 10 out of 10, hilarious. But he roasted the bag, and I'm like, I don't care. I still think it's cute. I even got a little rainbow hand sanitizer holder from Bath and Body Works to go on it. Like, I'm going all out.
Right? All the rainbows. There's nothing wrong with wearing a stupid amount of rainbows. I'm considering for this month wearing like obnoxiously patterned men's shirts over all my work shirts for the entire month of June. Yes, we're going to see if anybody notices. My kids will.
I mean, that's just your closet.
That is also just my closet.
It's just your closet.
My work has no idea what I wear on a regular basis. They only see me in the work t-shirts. So they don't know that that's just half of my closet is.
You know who makes a lot of dad shirts? It's Disney World. I go in there. I find a new dad shirt.
So we'll be all decked out and ready for June. We do have one other announcement we have to make, though, which we will make a separate announcement. But by the time this comes out, we're allowed to say this officially. We are going to be at Anime Iowa. So yes, all of your sending them countless messages did get us rebooked for this year. We are your MCs. There will be a live show. It will be on Friday, but you're going to have to stay tuned for the extra info, but we can tell you you are not going to want to miss this one. This will be the full live show. So not the hour-long that most of the cons book, but we are getting to do our full show.
With lots of exciting details that we can't quite share yet. But
yes. At this point, I do believe you have to get tickets at con, so stay tuned. Michi, can you tell our listeners a little bit about Eternal Mooncast?
So Eternal Mooncast came about because I have watched pretty much every version or read every version of Sailor Moon I can get my hands on. I've seen old and new musicals. I've read the manga, several iterations from when Usagi was literally, they used to call her Bunny back in the 1990s manga.
Or Serena.
And you'll still hear me every once in a while flip into old names because I was 8 when Sailor Moon came to America. Yeah, and so like that's the thing. I grew up on the old dub. Like, is it cringy as all get out nowadays? Oh yeah. Is it still a little nostalgic? Yeah. And especially I love that each girl's voice is so distinct back then.
Mm-hmm.
But Eternal Mooncast handles Sailor Moon theories, and it can be any kind of theory. I have all of the theories that I've answered text-wise saved to my Instagram page, and that's not all the episodes. Currently, my podcast is on hiatus. Temporarily, it is coming back hopefully by the end of this year. It is just on hiatus due to personal reasons of myself and my editor. But we do really want to bring it back. It got great reception. I have actually several episodes recorded that just need edited and put out. And we're hoping we'll get time in our lives to do that soon. And I have a bunch more theories that I want to cover. And I'm always open to theories if you have one that you want me to do, or if you just have a question. Even while I'm on hiatus, I do check my email, and it's eternalmooncast@gmail.com. So feel free to hit me up there or on my Instagram. But we do have 3 episodes that are perfectly edited, and they are out anywhere podcasts are. Just know it is a temporary hiatus, and we do plan on coming back. But yeah, it's a way for me to use all my Sailor Moon knowledge that has a lot of random fun facts and share it with other people. And I try to bring it to conventions whenever I go.
Excellent. Speaking of your Insta, do you want to go ahead and share your socials? We will go ahead and put those obviously in the posts for the episode, but for anybody that can't wait and needs to get a head start on it.
Yeah, basically it's the same across the board. It's just either like with little different intonations. Instagram is M as in Mary, E as in Edward, W as in wagon, 21_cosplay. So Mew21 _cosplay. Facebook is Mew21 cosplay. Tumblr is Mew21. I know I still use Tumblr. You guys can make fun of me. Listen, I still love Tumblr. I love Tumblr. Sailor Moon Theories has a great account on Tumblr. I highly recommend them. And otherwise, I haven't updated my DeviantArt in forever, but that's Mew21. So, but yeah, I'm mostly active on Instagram and Facebook.
So I know you have a love for a very specific Sailor Moon character.
I do.
Who I also have deep love for as well, in a different way.
Yes.
As my cosplay partner will tell you, that my crush on Mitsuru is just that.
She's hard not to, though. Like, yeah, like she's just a very, very uniquely written character to me, especially for the time of when she was made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, both of them really were way ahead of their time.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that they were based off Takarazuka actresses, and it makes a lot of sense. Do you guys know what Takarazuka actresses are?
I do not.
Okay, so there's a city in Japan. I'm 90%. My ex was more into this than I was, but I know of it. I believe it's Takarazuka, but they're an all-female performance troops, and the girls play. The girls can play girl parts, and the girls can also play male parts, and they're really, really beautiful performances. So, but a lot of the girls who play guys have the short haircut like Haruka. And then, like, originally, that's what Naoko wanted them to be. But to be those actresses, they would have been too old for the setting of Sailor Moon, which is why then she made them a violin prodigy and a race car prodigy.
Oh, cool. Fun fact.
I love fun facts.
Sorry, guys. If I'm on this podcast, you're going to learn way more than you ever wanted to know about this series background.
That's why you're here.
Hi. I know way too much.
That is why you're here. We are all for random knowledge tangents on this podcast.
Yes, please.
But Ash, for those that live under a rock and don't know what Sailor Moon is,
all right,
we should probably tell them.
Yes. I'm so sorry for you, and you should go fix this right now. So Sailor Moon is a Japanese shoujo manga that was originally published in 1991 and ran through 1997. It's by Naoko Takeuchi. Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon, so Pretty Soldier, Pretty Guardian, depending on the translation. So 2022 is the 30th anniversary of the original anime. The second anime, because of course everybody needs a reboot, Sailor Moon Crystal ran for 3 seasons from 2014 through 2016. There have also been 4 movies. We got 1 more in development, which I'm super, super excited about. A live action adaptation, which brought me so much nostalgia to like the original Power Rangers, because I mean, it's a Sentai. Countless musicals, collectible card game, RPGs, other various video games, and so much more. I wrote a paper once on Ayoko because you had to name 1 person, living or alive, that you would like to meet and what would you talk about. And this was me in high school.
Honestly, that's me today.
I mean, yeah. So in the US, the original dub of the anime served a couple of short stints on UPN and USA before landing on Cartoon Network's Toonami block, which is where I think most people are familiar with it from. It ran there from June of 98 through July of 2002. It was super, super revolutionary for its time, and even to a certain extent today. Its take on gender roles, androgyny, teen girls as action stars, heck yes, please. Had the development for character, strong female protagonists, and not just like strong, I'm going to kick your ass, but actually like in-depth and well-written female characters. So if you haven't watched it, please go see it. And if you haven't watched it in a while, it's absolutely worth a revisit. I started making my little our executive producer watched some of the old 90s dub with me, and it was a good time. I made him watch the Makai Tree arc the other day. And he just likes the bright colors and the funny voices, so it works well.
We're just going to have to dress him up from Sailor Moon at some point, so.
I see no problem here.
I see no issue with this.
You should make him a little Melvin with the glasses.
That would be really cute.
So I wanted to start, before we start, ranting and raving over gender and sexuality in Sailor Moon and what the dubs did to some of these wonderful characters, so I really wanted to mention one of the most wholesome, I don't even know what to call it, but one of the most wholesome scenes of Sailor Moon, where there is a scene in season 5, episode 178, where one of Usagi's classmates gives her a love letter. It's a really, really sweet scene.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time period, in television shows, typically in the 90s, the Usagi's character would have reacted in a really negative way to this kind of interaction. But instead, she reacts in like a very kind, positive way to this girl. And it was just kind of the first time I remember as a teen seeing someone approach someone romantically in a same-sex fashion in a positive way. I don't know if there was anything behind that, Michi, if there's something like...
So I definitely know that scene, and it actually went viral on Tumblr. I know you guys roasted me for Tumblr, but yeah, it actually did go viral on Tumblr as a really great example of how to respect someone's feelings, but like not reject them in a ew way, but in a that's very sweet. But and Usagi had already given her heart away. Like, to her, it wasn't any different than a guy doing it. I think she would have treated them the exact same way. And maybe that's to highlight Usagi's kindness and like just overall loving nature. There's a couple different interpretations you could take with that, but overall, I just applaud the show for especially being that daring back in the day, because especially airing in like conservative US, conservative Japan. Well, it didn't get to. Put a pin in that. I'm going to come back to that, but I have a lot to say about that. But yeah, I think it's just a show like. Honestly, Naoko, I would love to talk to her because I really do have a deep interest in the lessons that she really kind of taught and just the overall like openness to the LGBTQIA community.
It would be really interesting to find out why there are so many LGBTQ themes in Sailor Moon, whether she did it intentionally or unintentionally.
But the thing is, so many people didn't get to see that scene, and I think that is the biggest shame, because they did cut off Sailor Moon for us in season 4 in the US. In Stars, back then, we didn't have streaming. We barely had the internet, like, to be able to, like, find, like, dark sites even to find this kind of stuff. Honestly, I remember wanting to see Stars, but there was no earthly way I was ever going to find a copy.
I had a really bad copy of Stars on like a VHS that was copied from a VHS kind of situation.
That's how they used to do terrible fan subs back in the day.
Yes, because like we had Stars briefly, but it only aired like a couple episodes, and then they just cut it off because they couldn't figure out how to do it with all their edits that they made. Well, and I've also always had the manga, so like I knew what was because I have the manga. I have the whole thing, so, like, I was up to date on Stars, when that was released as well. But because the US butchered Stars.
Yeah. I read a ton about it as a kid, because I was super into, like, making websites and being on websites, and I had, like, a Sailor Moon, like, JPEG collection on floppy disk, organized by character, and, like, this whole thing. So I like lived and breathed Sailor Moon like fan sites as a kid for as long as I could like remember during that time period. Like I was part of the Sailor Senshi domain group. Like I was all excited because I had my own like .net domain for one of the characters. It was like a whole thing, and I learned most of my Stars like lore about that. And for those of you that are still not privileged to have watched this, Hulu right now has Sailor Moon, all 5 seasons. Go. After you're done listening to this episode and listening to the episodes of Michi's Mooncast, then you need to go and hop on Hulu and watch all this stuff.
So one of the big hot messes that all of the versions of Sailor Moon have created is the gender identity of a lot of characters has been grossly misinterpreted throughout all the variations of Sailor Moon.
And it's a lot worse than you think it is.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But of course, like, the main character that's always, like, front and center is Haruka. Because they're a main character in Sailor Moon. And so the argument always is, are they male, are they female, or are they non-binary? Don't actually have an exact answer for that question. Michi might. I don't know. You have more info than we do. But from what I was able to see, multiple parts in both the manga and some of the reiterations of the television show describe her as both male and female. And in the manga and in the animated series, you're going to see Haruka in masculine and feminine attire. In the early anime, it's mostly either like when Haruka's Haruka, they're in their masculine attire. When they're Sailor Uranus, they're in the uniform. And there's not a lot of in between. Quote that I was able to find from the author is that they clarified Haruka by saying that Haruka's always been a girl and always will be. So it starts to get confusing between the different material that you can find. Michi, I don't know if you have any more behind with this.
I have a lot.
Okay, I can tell that you're like holding it in and you have more, because we'll talk a little bit about where some of the genderqueer language started in the United States. But first we can talk a little bit more about Haruka specifically.
So Haruka, I'm going to base most of what I'm going to say on it's the problem is Haruka, the poor character has been treated badly by so many redubbers, so many. But the base that comes down to it is in the manga and in Crystal, they do have that scene where Haruka's like, male or female, what does it matter? Haruka never says one or the other. Now, Naoko did say that quote that is specific. And the reason that quote is so interesting is because Naoko was mad about how they handled stars. The fact that they made the Starlights biologically men completely went against everything she wanted. The big thing in Sailor Moon is only females can be sailor soldiers. Mm-hmm. They can you saw what happened with Tuxedo Mask when he got the crystal, Captain Useless. Sorry to all the Mamo fans out there. Basically, like if you're not female, then you can't be a Sailor Scout. So that's why she was so mad about the Starlights, because turning them into men, and even though there's the transformation in, that's a whole different can of worms, but they were always supposed to be female and they were just in disguise as men. That was what was supposed to happen and what happens in the manga. I'm really interested in how Sailor Moon Cosmos is going to spin it, because Seiya in the manga and Seiya in the 90s anime are two completely different characters with two completely different storylines. And the thing is the fandom now loves Seiya so much. I'm a little worried because they've been so true to manga in Crystal that I don't know how fans of Seiya would handle how Seiya would be treated if we just go straight manga. But that's the big thing, is that Naoko always was dead set, and that's why that quote about Haruka is a girl. And also we got to think, you have to change your mindset from current 2020s. Put your mindset back in 1990s. Like, okay, fun fact about me, I didn't know what a lesbian was until I watched The Golden Girls in college. I literally, there's the episode where Dorothy's roommate, old roommate from college, falls in love with Rose. That, and Blanche talks about Danny Thomas. Like, that is how I found out, because I grew up in a super duper conservative town in Pennsylvania. And so I totally believe the cousins.
Because awareness is so much more heavily ingrained in our society now than it was 20 years ago. The newcomers to Sailor Moon don't understand that a lot of us had no clue about any of this. Like, there's a reason there are a ton of, in particular, women coming out in their, 30s, because we didn't know shit in the early 2000s. Like, it was not, you were a very specific gay or a very specific straight. There was nothing in the middle. There was no, bisexual was not a thing that people really knew about. Pansexual definitely was not. Non-binary, none of these things were common knowledge. You had to somehow live somewhere, to particularly usually a very large city, to be exposed to the LGBTQ community in that time frame. So a lot of people want to say, Haruka and Seiya are non-binary because they are applying the knowledge of now to what people would have known in the 90s. And that wasn't really a common knowledge thing, because the idea of gender queer didn't even come into existence till 1995. And it was very specific to the community. That knowledge wasn't something that was commonplace, like it is now. And the term non-binary didn't even really come to be something well known until like 2010, 2012. Now, for a lot of us who are in communities that are heavily LGBTQ, non-binary seems like a term that's been around for like our entire lives. You know, when you're surrounded with a lot of people within that community, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still not a term that's like universally known in the larger society. So kind of like what you were saying, when you try to apply 2022 to 1995 or whatever, the differences are going to be pretty striking. I do understand why people would like to see those two characters as non-binary, because they see them as like a representation in like a strong show that is known by a larger community. From what you're saying, kind of from what we found, that probably wasn't her intention.
I agree in the beginning. I do feel like as the years have gone on, especially seeing all the different iterations of Haruka, and especially like, people who've only watched the 90s anime don't realize that like in the manga, she does dress feminine. Mm-hmm. Like she does actually, have two dual sides to her.
We have one of those costume plans soon. We're going to do the opera outfits.
Oh, cute. I love that.
You're right. I mean, if you look at the manga, her outfits change all the time on any given day, which again would make your brain now go non-binary. But then again, I'm a person who does that and I don't identify as non-binary. Take that with what you will, community.
I will say though, I do love though when Haruka does dress female, a lot of times she goes like full on dang, like because she's like the leather mini skirt or like her princess dress. Like it was a joke between one of my friends that I cosplay with, Sunchild Cosplay, about how her princess dress goes down to her waist, the cut on the side. And like like Haruka, and like if she's gonna like dress feminine, she's gonna be that girl.
I mean, I also identify with that. Because if I'm gonna go with a feminine outfit, it's usually much more over the top. So obviously you can tell that the three of us have great love for Haruka and Michiru. I would say that their relationship when they weren't represented as cousins.
For those of you who were under the rock, or for those of you who are not familiar with anything but the 90s dub, they're not actually cousins. Like the original 90s dub tries to tell you.
I'm sorry, but how, with the interactions that they have, could you possibly think they were cousins?
It's a children's show.
Oh, you know what was the worst? When they shoehorned in and they had Mercury say when it was the hand-holding contest, they're girls and cousins too. Like that was the most shoehorned in piece of information. I mean, you might as well have been trying to say, they're straight, don't look, they're straight.
It just makes me think of like the Shakespearean trope of they were cousins. And it's always like a throw to they were probably in a relationship. That was like a Shakespearean thing. And so every time it's like they were cousins, that's what like pops into my head. So yes, they tried to make probably one of the most like iconic couples in anime cousins to appease the 1990s audience. Because in the 90s, you typically only saw gay people in shows in like a very stereotypical fashion. So typically men, typically very flamboyant. That's how a gay person was presented in the 90s on a show. And typically being gay was also something presented as something that needed to be fixed in someone, particularly shows where like the character might be in high school and talking to their parents. Like it was something that needed to be fixed. There was just a lot of homophobia that was just considered social norm at that time. Things like in the Golden Girls where Blanche's brother wanted to marry his boyfriend, or like Michi, you mentioned another one from the Golden Girls that was really good.
Yeah, so there's two big storylines in the Golden Girls. Honestly, the Golden Girls was so progressive and so gay positive. And the fun fact, the reason it was is because Estelle Getty, who played Sophia, refused to be in any storyline that had a negative connotation against the gay community. She was an actress more in like Broadway shows, And this was her only TV appearance, or like one of her only TV appearances. And she and the rest of the girls all put their foot down of no bad gay tropes or anything. And so that's why Blanche's brother came out to her, and she had there's an iconic clip which I love, which Blanche asked. The other thing I'm obsessed with is the Golden Girls. Is take a guess why? Oh, look, they're all gay. Blanche asked Sophia, I understand he loves him, but why does he want to put a ring on him? And Sophia, I wish I had the exact quotes. She's like, why did you marry George, who was Blanche's husband? And she's like, well, I loved him and we wanted everyone to know. And Sophia asked, doesn't your brother deserve that too? It's those specific moments that I really think like have helped like the progression. And yeah, like that's the thing, is that like, you know, they're all good examples of the gay community, which from back then it was so sparse.
Mm-hmm. There was a scene in Frasier that had similarities to the Usagi and the classmate situation, where Frasier's boss thinks they're on a date. Because I was Googling like positive representation in like 90s television shows. And so he just kind of like Usagi, he didn't get upset. He just handled it like any normal dating misunderstanding. I don't know if it's just me. I have accidentally been on multiple dates and not known I was on a date.
With men, yes, I've accidentally done that.
Clueless little 20-something elf from middle of nowhere Midwest had no idea.
No,
what she was doing in her early 20s. And I have totally accidentally dated people and not known we were dating. And I think in some cases, both parties didn't know they were dating, but we were totally dating when you look back at it. The other big thing that happened in the 90s was Ellen came out in 1997. And that is really what brought being gay to like mainstream. And like, this is a real person that people adore that is now coming out as gay.
I don't know. I got more on like the JoJo Siwa train when she came out. Yes. I follow her on TikTok now. She is amazing.
The Ellen show is about to end after more than 3,000 episodes.
Wow.
But yes, obviously now we have a lot better representation. But in the 90s, it was something.
I think the important thing about, you know, positive representation in general is that unlike in these other tropes that you were talking about, like them being together, like that's not the plot point, like right. That's not the reason behind the episode or whatever. It's just who they are. Like Haruka has a bomb ass fashion sense, like that's just who they are. Like
yeah, because I feel like a lot of times that like the gay character is like there for a trope or to be killed off.
Yeah,
and being gay is their entire personality,
right? Like that's not a thing. Like that just, it's one of their many character traits, like when you're doing character development, just like Mako is boy crazy, like
yeah,
it's just a thing.
That's just, they just made it a thing like anything else, which was great. Yeah. But apparently for most of the dubs, having, you know, them being in an actual relationship was just too much.
I mean, do we want to go over how different countries handled it?
Please. That is the section right now. Can we please? That's all we need. We just need to know, what did the rest of the world do to poor Haruka and Mishiro?
So when Elle and Ash approached me about doing this episode, it spurred an idea of, I knew of at least 2 other dubs. I knew my friend had seen a dub in Colombia, and I knew that there was also a dub in Europe, and I didn't know much past that. Well, turns out there's a lot of dubs. I didn't realize quite how far Sailor Moon reached. So I guess, yeah. And here's the thing is, I'm still researching. I plan on, for Eternal Mooncast, we're going to do like a season where I just go through the different dubs and how they differed. I'm actually working with fans of Sailor Moon all around the world. I do still need a few countries, but I'm excited because I'm talking to people from Germany, from Hungary, from a couple different places, and they're all telling me about their childhood and about their experience with their dubs. So it's going to be really interesting. It's a topic I'm very excited to go into. But yeah, so I'll just go down the list. We already know America. No one needs a fun fact about that dub.
No.
All right. So fun fact, there was a dub in Brazil, and they thought Momo and Tuxedo Mask were two different people and they had two different voice actors for them. They didn't figure it out until most of the way through season 1. Cheers. In Greece, Mercury was introduced as Sailor Saturn, and when Sailor Saturn was introduced, they went back and forth calling Ami Sailor Saturn and Sailor Mercury. And in the redub, they did it again. So I don't know why. They just in particularly did not want Mercury there. Go figure. In South Korea, they probably had the most modest dub of any of the dubs I've been able to find. Kissing and romantic scenes were cut. Transformation scenes were instantaneous. Apparently, instead of redubbing into Vietnamese, they chose to have a single female narrator talk over the English dub to explain the dialogue. So that was something. In Indonesia, Sailor Mars was played by the same voice actor as Melvin, who what's his Japanese name?
Amino.
Yeah, sorry. Melvin and Molly with her Brooklyn accent will forever be my OTP. I'm sorry. Molly is from Brooklyn, and you can't change my mind. In Australia, they did not get a new version of a dub. They used the Deke version, but censored it even more to the point that they skipped episodes that were too violent, even if it was a major plot point, like when Nephirite died. So as far as the Australians knew, he just like peaced out. It was never mentioned again. And then one of my particularly insulting fun facts, Haruka was given a male voice actor and was treated as a male character in the French dub and was given the name Frederic to help this point. Yeah, I'm just, what in the world was going on with the French dub? I really want to talk to someone who watched Sailor Moon in French back in the day, because why does Sailor Neptune have ice attacks and Sailor Uranus has fire attacks? And why in the world I kind of get the small connection of Mars went to a Catholic school, but like her using Latin exorcisms to defeat the demons, I have a lot of questions just in general. Let's see. We're almost at the
why?
Yeah, France in particular, I want to talk to.
Why? Well, and so Haruka was 100% a man then in the French.
100%.
Correct.
Let me check. Did Haruka? There's a few dubs where Haruka changed into a female when in Senshi. Okay, no. In France, when in Senshi, Haruka was given a female voice actress, the same one as Sailor Mars. But when Haruka was a man, Haruka had the same voice actor as Tuxedo Mask. So Mars and Tuxedo Mask split the French dub for Haruka. Make it make sense.
I mean, that combined with the Mars is now Catholic who uses Latin exorcisms, but wearing like obviously very traditional clothing.
I know you're a Shinto priestess, but you're really not. You're a Catholic now.
Apparently.
Now, it is interesting. In the Russian dub, they changed the voice actors for both Haruka and the Starlights when transformed, but kept the male pronouns and referred to them as men. Yeah. So in Taiwan, a fun fact, they changed Sailor Scouts to fairies. So I'm not quite sure where that ties in, but I'm interested to know where in the world that comes from.
Like Wings Flubber. What are we doing here?
One of my favorite fun facts, and it's so fun because the person I'm talking to from Germany is so embarrassed about it. So it was a pop group formed called the Super Moonies to do the German dub soundtrack. And they had two cosplayers basically as like backup dancers. And then the main girl in like a fugu style, like leather attire. And it just, at least I think it's leather. It's hard to tell from the old photos, but like they would go around and they would dance and sing to the Sailor Moon soundtrack in German. And that's how like they like advertised them. I love that fact. Yeah, look it up. You can find it on Wiki. But yeah, so okay, but we'll end there. But yeah, so as you can see, they were all treated pretty. Oh wait, Ash, you wanted to tell about the other cousins.
Oh yes, that was the other note. Yeah, because apparently we just can't be like romantic with anybody. We have to be cousins instead. So
Indonesia.
Yes, Zoizai and Kunzai were cousins in Indonesia because apparently that needed to be a thing.
So I'm not sure that relationship is well known to everyone.
So in the 90s anime, Zoizai and Kunzai, who are two of the henchmen of the main villain for the season, are in a homosexual relationship together. Like, you do you, boys. Get it. But a lot of, like in America, they changed Zoizai to a female. Zoizai has a ponytail. He's smaller in stature. He's just a little bit more effeminate. They did dirty to him, and they did dirty to Fisheye in Super S, which is the 4th season. Fisheye is another gay man who has a fabulous fashion sense. I mean, we have to talk about how amazing fashion is in 90s Sailor Moon anyway. But again, more androgynous, slender frame. But yeah, they're like, no, we're just going to make this a girl because then we don't have to. It's too traumatizing for the kids or some stupid shit. Why do they censor anything? But
you know what's interesting is they kept in the episode where Fisheye takes off his top.
Yes.
I remember being so confused about that as a kid.
I thought this was a girl.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It was a female voice actor and they used she, her pronouns. But then they showed Fisheye topless with male anatomy. And I was like, wait.
Yep.
Sailor, they didn't do a good job at censoring. They really missed the mark a lot.
They didn't think ahead of far enough.
Though I will say, Fisheye in the 90s has such a better storyline than in Crystal in the manga. They really fleshed out the character, and I just wish they kept Fisheye a man, because man, when Usagi finds Fisheye in the rain, like I don't know. I find the whole 4th season really interesting.
I was really disappointed when they decided to make seasons 4 and 5 for Crystal movies instead of full seasons anyway, because there's just so much you miss out on as far as opportunities for stuff like that for character development. And
so in the 90s, sometimes I was like, we might need to call like Detective Stabler with Law and Order SVU, because Hawkeye's going after, I'm pretty sure, a child. What's going on? Sometimes that was weird.
My cousin and I have a joke that Olivia Benson just kills all the pedophiles that go missing. So that's why you can't find them, is because Olivia threw their body in the river.
That's
well, speaking of doing characters gender dirty, the worst is still probably the wonderful Starlights.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit.
We did, but they do say it in particular.
Yes.
I feel like it's easier to understand that they are women masquerading as men to hide their identity because they're trying to find their queen than them being men who magically turn into women.
Right. Yeah. So again, for those of you who are not in the know, the Sailor Starlights, which are our 3 new Senshi on the side of Team Good, in Stars, the 5th season, in the manga, they have always been female. Like we talked about earlier, you have to be a woman or a girl in order to be a sailor soldier. That's just the unwritten rule. You have to be a female in order to be a scout. So they were disguised as men because they thought socially that would be preferential to society because they're looking for their princess. And so they make a pop group, as you do.
As you do.
They're a boy band.
They are a boy band.
They make a boy band to try to find their princess so they can sing to her.
With one song and one song only.
One song. Search for your love.
That's right. They have one song. I forgot.
Search for your
love. I
love.
roast Saya all the time about that. I'm like, you got one song, my dude.
One hit wonder.
I love Saya. I do. Saya's definitely a do I want them or do I want to be them situation.
Yeah.
But there's so much.
Speaking of doing dirty in the dubs, though, in the original episodes of the Italian dub of Stars, the Sailor Starlights were actually twin sisters to the Lights. And then I think they decided it was too much work to try to explain that plot line, and then they scrapped it. Well, partway through the season.
So the best part about the Starlights is so their scout uniforms are extreme.
Yes.
So you go from really awful colored suits, because I'm totally buying that red suit at some point in my life here.
My friends cosplayed them for Katsu in the suits.
Yes. Excellent. We have a plan at some point for the Starlights. And I'm gonna need that suit. To these tiny leather bikinis.
With thigh-high boots.
With thigh-high boots. That legit, I'm going to have to ask permission for if I ever make and try to enter in a contest. They are that tiny. So, what? Like,
Well,
there's no way to, like, be like
here's
it's
the
so
thing.
drastic.
I will say, have you not noticed that all of Galaxia's minions are all in lingerie?
Yes, I have noticed that.
Yes, they are.
So here's my theory: is Naoko wanted to end it after season 1, right? That was her original intention. Is everybody dies, the end.
The end. And they're like, no, we're making too much money.
Yes. So then it was like, okay. So I feel like it was just like she was just progressing. She's like, how far can I get away with this? To the point where they will let me stop.
Like, I'm gonna write an ending to this every
So,
single season.
That explains some of the even more horrible fashion choices of stars in particular. I mean, the thing that still gets me is when they go to the club. Because I have that outfit
on their date.
with the yellow and black stripe shirt
SOS.
and the red hat.
When your clothing is literally calling out for help.
Yes.
Danger.
We definitely wore, and the fanny pack and the whole, like, yeah, we definitely have those outfits. They make me really happy because they're really absurd. But Seiya's fashion is just like the epitome of terrible 90s fashion.
I mean, the other gays didn't help. They were in matching two pieces that got roasted by a child. So, like,
we definitely have some of Haruka and Michiru's horrible outfits planned as well from the 90s anime.
I want all of them.
Not?
We need the one where it's like they're wearing like their sleeveless tops and they have like the triangles.
That's what I was talking about, the matchy-matchy.
Yes,
the matchy-matchy, like probably made out of colored denim, like t-shirts.
Yes.
I know a couple couples who have done that and they're on my to-do list.
Yeah, we definitely, those outfits are definitely on our list of I need this horrible outfit in my life.
It's iconic.
So we can have the horrible outfit, the school uniform, and then the like fancy orchestra outfits, and we can be like all set.
Well, what's interesting is Naoko went so far and beyond with her fashion, because like most of her looks were based off like iconic fashion pieces back in the 90s. But then like stars, I can't pull from anywhere where in the world she was pulling. I don't know.
Yeah, because Serenity's Dress, Black Lady, pretty much all of the Dead Moon clan, like they are not the Dead Moon clan, the Black Moon clan, like pretty much all of their outfits are based on actual high fashion from the time. So then, yeah, you get to Stars and you're like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in Stars, but the fashion went wild.
Yeah, no, even in Sailor V, like Minako's outfits were based off like 90s Chanel, because I know the fashion came up again in G-Friend's K-pop music video for Mago. They were dressed almost identical to Minako and Sailor V, but that's because they also pulled from 90s Chanel.
But then, there's her outfit when she goes to the Starlights concert that, is so iconic.
When they're doing the talent show contest? Yes.
Yatun's already done with her.
It's like, I can't.
It's so bad and I love it so much.
Have you ever seen a Sparkle Pipsy, like one of like the OG Sailor Moon cosplayers? She did that and she nailed it.
Yes.
That outfit is amazing.
Minako, what are you doing?
Oh, if you want to hear more about how Seiya is superior in every way, shape, or form, particularly to Mamoru, Michi did an entire episode on how Seiya is a better partner for Usagi than Mamoru.
So true.
Which is a tangent that we could go on for way too long. So true. If you want to know more about Stars and Seiya, highly recommend. Honestly, Mamoru is a terrible partner, but that is its own episode. In and of itself.
To be honest though, Usagi is not a great partner either.
No, they're both terrible.
They're bad.
She's 14.
That's also true.
That's also a problem.
Who was smart at 14? I have never met someone who has their life together at 14.
Well, but that's also like the relationship expectations in Sailor Moon are just so bizarre in general.
Yes.
Like, they're not even necessarily like all cis heteronormative issues. They're just like bonkers in general.
I forgot to tell you when my birthday is, but I'm gonna cry because you didn't buy me a present.
And then my brain just goes to the scene in the rain. Am I not enough?
Oh,
Could I take it? I like how, like, depending on which version you're watching, like either the sub translation or the dub is completely different. But they're like, could I not take his place? Or like, am I not good enough?
I will always go with "Am I not enough?" But someday we'll do that as a photo shoot. So because drama, but
because drama,
like legit, the relationship like expectations and crazy in this show.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, I just rewatched the Mackay Tree. Moonlight Night is like, now that Mamo has fallen back in love with you, we can merge and become one. And I'm like, I just watched this entire mini season. When did this happen? Like, he just kind of tolerates her and this weird girl that just showed up at their school one day. Like God, these 14-year-olds just broke into my apartment.
Like, seriously, the most healthy relationship in this entire show is Haruka Mishuru.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
Because Usagi and Mamoru's relationship is highly toxic.
So toxic.
Despite the age difference, which is a whole nother problem.
The sad part is I get where she was going with it. It just, no. Honestly, I ship more Tuxedo Mask with his boyfriend from the first movie.
Space boyfriend.
Space boyfriend.
Space boyfriend.
It's a great love story.
It is.
It's wholesome.
She needs to make that into like a spin-off. Space boyfriend, crystal power makeup. So like one of the things I've always wondered with like, and Michi, you might have an opinion on this, in a lot of the reiterations did gender switching because that's what they felt the audience would be quote unquote more comfortable with. But do you think it also has something to do with like cis heteronormative relationship expectations and being like, well, if they've got a relationship, then obviously it should look like this.
I think so. I honestly think that's one of the reasons why they also took away Haruka's feminine side from the manga. I think they had to, I don't know if like they intended like for the dubs to try to make Haruka a man to make it so heteronormative, but I feel like they definitely made her more butch than she was, because she always struck me as like soft butch. That's what she always struck me as. Whereas then they like didn't give her any feminine clothes in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I always found that really interesting. I always felt like they were trying to like pigeonhole in a way.
Yeah. Like putting her in that box that the majority of society would be quote unquote more comfortable with. Like, this is what a gay relationship should look like visually.
That, and I feel like they were trying to say Michiru could not be attracted to anything that didn't have masculine attributes. Because something I definitely fight and have a hate against is when people are like, oh, Michiru, like, she's not totally gay, or like them trying to like assume her sexuality and like trying to argue really hard that she flirts with Endymion, you know, to try to like get closer to him, but Haruka's doing the same thing to Usagi. But then they're like, well, if she flirted with a man, she must be some form of attracted to men, when it's like, no, that could also just be that she's doing what she needs to for the mission, and she knows she's pretty, and that he's attracted to pretty girls.
I know people that are just like that, so that's just their personality trait. You see the same thing in Stars too, between Michi and Seiya, where they're just kind of like pushing each other's buttons and playing the flirty role just to like see what the other one's gonna do.
Well, that Michiru was specifically getting Haruka back for the maid.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, that was, no, if you look, Michiru was 110% using Seiya like a little puppet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah, because Haruka was flirting with the maid, and Michiru, we saw she was mad. But she waits for revenge to the right time.
Yeah, she's very calculated.
She the boss, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah. We all know who wears the hypothetical pants in this family.
She's the one in charge. You don't.
110%. Yeah, as much as Haruka likes to act like big tough, like I'm in charge, it's like we all know if Michiru asked for anything, it would happen.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of trying to put them in boxes where if that was a male character doing that, I don't know that necessarily that box would have been made, because it's like, oh, they're just doing this to get advantage, or, you know, that kind of a thing. Because, I mean, Using their wares to their advantage.
Any means necessary.
I just think it's so funny then, because then Haruka gets so insanely jealous because she just can't help it. And it's just like, especially like even in Crystal, when Michiru's flirting with Mamo, I love Michiru's knowing smile when she sees Haruka. But Haruka, even though she can't like react, you can tell she's still mad.
Oh yeah, it's like a game.
Yeah.
Oh, it's totally a game for them. Like they flirt with the inner senshi for fun.
Yes.
Oh
well,
yeah.
And Haruka can definitely dish it, but she cannot take it nearly as well.
Also 100% accurate.
That's why she needs a Michiru to keep her in line.
It's right.
Balance.
You need that balance.
And then you like the inner senshi. Honestly, though, I'm a big fan of pairing the inner senshi. Burning Love. I love that's like the fandom name for Mars and Venus as a couple.
Please.
Oh, I could see that.
All I can think of is that would be a lot of hair accessories in one household.
Well, and so I was watching, which episode did I watch the other day? Oh, it was I rewatched the episode where Mako gets her girl crush on Haruka, and like just one of the casual like throwaway lines is they're at Mars's house and they refer to she has an all-female review magazine. And
That's Sakurazuka.
I was like, what? Did they just throw that out there? Like, because she gets all embarrassed and like weird about it. It's like, well, there you go. I mean, I'm cool with it. Whatever.
I'm sorry, no one in the show is straight. I feel like everybody's a little gay. It's like just they identify as something.
Yeah.
They're somewhere in that continuum, right?
In our wonderful rainbow, they all are especially in Crystal, it's even more blatant.
Yeah. Well, Crystal's closer to the manga, so that helps a little bit. It's not as cut out.
No, and Makoto definitely like I feel like has the problem with Haruka that we do with cosplays. She's like she can't decide if she wants to be her or if she wants to be with her.
Yes.
Because I like they have the argument because Usagi's just like, wait a second, but Mako's like, oh well, I just really love like her free spirit and that she doesn't have to, conform. And that's why I overcompensate with like flowers and being really good at cooking is because I feel like I'm too boyish. So I need this feminine hobby in order to make me like balance out and feel more like a woman. But, Haruka doesn't have that expectation, weighing her down. And that's amazing. But at the same time, there's like blushing and sparkles and like that like dreamy rose petal like thing going on, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Whatever you say, Mako.
Whatever you say.
Whatever you say.
They all have a crush on Haruka though at one point in time. So.
Who doesn't?
I was gonna say same. I mean, everybody.
No, oh my god, one of my favorite fan fiction authors has a cursed couple that I can't stand. She actually pairs Haruka and Seiya as a couple.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
Again, it's a hate ship, but like, no.
I don't see it. As one who cosplays both, I don't see it.
That's oil and water if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, like personality-wise, I don't.
Yeah.
It would just be like this all the time.
Yeah, but who is a good ship is Seiya and Usagi.
Yes. Please. Although she is just such an idiot.
They had like
which one?
Adorable
development. Like
yes.
They're both dorks.
It wasn't just
they're good for each other.
Like I used to creepy watch you when we lived on different planets at one point in time.
Yes.
We're obviously destined to be together. Oh, and I guess we have a kid at some point in the future, so we should keep this thing going. But then it's, they have like actual character development between the two of them. It's not just like hot, cold.
No,
like,
instead their daughter falls in love with a horse. So,
And a fairy.
And a fairy.
I think she just took after Minako because Minako also has a thing for white-haired boys.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Ace, Kunzite,
Yep.
Yaten.
Yep.
Yaten.
It makes sense.
Seiya is definitely better partner for Usagi. They at least balanced each other out. And Seiya didn't care that she was Princess Serenity at all. Or Sailor Moon.
I think
the
only struggle that they would really have is Seiya's sense of duty.
Yes.
Like that is what ultimately would have kept them apart.
But am I not enough?
But also
Rama.
I am also a princess of my own realm that I have to stay in. So I cannot go with you while you take care of your princess in your realm. Like, it's not gonna.
Drama. Long distance space relationships.
Long distance space relationships.
Listen, Haruka would drag Say out by the ponytail if Say thought of staying. Like, that would be a hell no, taking ponytail to the portal.
Yep. Yeah. You're like, nope, I'm pass.
Haruka does not want them in her realm at all. Oh, they could have a whole spin-off of just the drama
Michiru
between
is
Seiya
clearly
and
the
Haruka.
brains behind the operation, and Haruka is the enforcer.
There we go.
It's like Haruka is technically the leader of the Outer Senshi, but
really, I don't know. Someone's driving behind the scenes there, I think.
Speaking of the Outer Senshi, I love in Eternal when the three of them have their promise rings so that they can they've promised to race Saturn, and I'm like, look at their cute little bod with their little rings, and I'm like, I love it.
Hey, to be fair, when she was raised by a guy, she turned into an evil supervillain. When she's raised by three ladies,
she turns out great.
That's
Strong,
the joke.
Solid women turned out great.
Look at all these positive role models.
Only briefly turned into a villain.
Just for a few minutes.
It's
okay. Fine. Semantics.
This is fine.
Fine.
The show is wild. But I was trying.
Yes. You don't realize how ridiculous the show is until you start picking it.
But is there any other topic?
I think we've probably covered everything we need to for this Pride episode that I will have to edit to have it not be like 2.5 hours long. But that's okay. Because it's all good.
Yeah, and at least we got the Four Kings. We managed to talk about the trio.
Yes.
We talked a lot about Haruka and Michiru. So I think all the major gay characters we talked about.
I'm still just thinking about these lavender pants right now. Fangirling over Mamo, and I'm like, these lavender pants.
Him in general is an enigma.
Yes, you could do a whole episode just on Mamoru.
Because what did he even do as a prince?
Did he
do anything?
Apparently, he and the Princess of the Moon just creeped on each other.
What did he do in the entire show of Sailor Moon? I will say in
Crystal, he had a great right hook.
Yeah.
He's no longer useless there.
He's no longer useless.
Oh my goodness.
Because he punched Soizite in the face.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed our first ever official Pride episode where we have ranted about Sailor Moon.
Yes.
That I now get to edit our rants. Be prepared for random extra uploads in the future from this episode. Thank you so much, Michi, for coming on and hanging out with me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, this was a blast. I think we could go on forever about Sailor Moon, but we won't do that to our audience today.
Not today.
Michi, can you remind our audience again where they can find your podcast?
Yes, my podcast is up basically anywhere I could find. So it's on Apple Podcasts. It is on what is it? Where else are podcasts? I always forget.
Typically, you can find them on Spotify, Google, Apple, basically wherever you can get a podcast. So if you applied for all of them, then you're probably on all of them.
Yep, and it's just Eternal Mooncast. It's named after, I wanted something very Sailor Moon, and Eternal seemed to be a really big thing at the time. They were coming out with the Eternal manga, and then Eternal was the name of the new movie, so just felt akin to that. And then I thought Mooncast was a good pun.
I like it.
And then on my Instagram is MEW21_cosplay, and that has all the written theories from the podcast.
Yes, there are a bunch of saved posts from your stories, right, in your highlights that have a lot of your excellent research.
Yes, and and my podcast is all fact-based and with some of my opinion in there, but I try 99% of the time to stick to facts I can find.
Therefore, Seiya being a better partner for Usagi than Mamoru is a fact.
Kitty Cat Giggles is pretty convincing on that. That was my co-host for that episode, And Kat is a huge Seiya fan.
I thoroughly enjoyed the episode.
I also enjoyed that episode.
It was a good time.
Well, happy Pride Month to our listeners that celebrate. We will be back next with our follow-up to our sandbagging episode because, wow, did we open a floodgate. So we will be answering your questions and comments on the next episode.
Yep.
But until then,
I'm Ash.
I'm Elle.
We are Lovey Cosplay.
And this is Shit Cosplayers Say. You've been listening to Shit Cosplayers Say, an LVC production. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Podcast SCS. Our website is lavicosplay.com. Have a fun, crazy con or cosplay-related story, absurd cosplay question, or just something in general to share with us? Email us at podcastscs@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should.